All right, guys, we are back. This is the Dream is Free podcast with myself, Jake Healy, and our super producer and host, Mike Theophil.
Hey, guys.
Our guest today is All right, guys, we're here with the Dream is Free podcast. I'm your host, Jake Healy, and our other host is...
Hey, guys. We have an awesome guest today.
Our host and super producer, Mike Theophil.
Yes, sir.
Our guest today is Ryan, graduate. He's part of the Connecticut Integrative Medical Center, which is a group of doctors and healthcare workers that all have come together with different backgrounds to help people. Ryan is an expert in the diabetes and weight loss field, and he was formerly a captain in the U.S. Army.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I think, did I get the intro?
You
sound
got it.
good?
Yeah, awesome.
All right,
yeah,
perfect. Yeah, so we're having Ryan on today to talk about his amazing life story, how he got to the point that he's at now in his he's a big name in the diabetes field. So he's going to talk about how he got there and then what he's doing today to help people.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll hand it over to you. Where
awesome.
Sorry.
And how we know each other from.
Yeah, he's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's a great wrestler too.
Yeah. So we've known each other for a little while from jiu-jitsu, and
yeah,
what was a decent wrestler back in the day, and now I'm trying to like unlearn my wrestling and relearn the jiu-jitsu because there's a lot of overlaps, but it's you have to.
Yeah, I feel like when you wrestle, you start out with an advantage when you're a white belt.
Yeah,
and then as you go along to the higher belts, you have to
learn what works and what doesn't work. Yeah,
because the takedown's only in the beginning. Yeah,
then you end up getting guillotined and getting stuck and yeah, man. So I'm a naturopathic physician now. I wasn't always. I never thought I'd be in this healthcare field. Never even had an interest in that. But I was in the Army, served for almost 6 years. A year of that I was in Iraq, and fortunately got to spend 4 years in Germany, where I was stationed. And kind of out of nowhere, came down with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
And difference between type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is what we used to call juvenile diabetes. It's an autoimmune disease. So basically your immune system destroys all the cells that make insulin in your pancreas, and you're basically insulin dependent for life. And came down with that when I was in Germany. Kind of didn't know what to make of that. And diabetes, I can get over this. I can be cured. I can eat the right things and be fine. But it's a lifelong ailment, basically.
Yeah. This was type 2 that you were...
Type 1.
Oh, type 1. Okay.
Type 1.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. Is type 1 the one where you have to have a pack, essentially? You know what I'm talking about? Some diabetes. I just met someone actually and I didn't know that it was a diabetic thing where they have a pack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
So type 1 is an insulin dependent form of diabetes. Now type 2 can need insulin too, but it starts with someone being insulin resistant and generally overweight and having inactivity and that kind of stuff. But type 1 is just my immune system went after the cells in my pancreas that make insulin, so I no longer make insulin. Now, when you're saying someone is wearing something, there are insulin pumps. That might be what you saw. And
just try to keep talking right now.
Yeah, right into the mic.
Oh, sure.
You're good.
And also, I actually wear a pump, and I wear another device too. Jake knows this from jiu-jitsu because it's always beeping and alerting me. It reads my blood sugar. It's a tiny little thing, and it sends my blood sugar to my phone.
Cool.
So I always know what my blood sugar is.
Awesome.
It wakes me up at night or whenever. If I'm training and it's going up or down, I'll know. So yeah, whoever you saw
That's what
had
that is.
one of those two things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I came down with type 1 diabetes while I was in the Army. This was like diagnosed in 2006.
How many years into the army were you?
It was like at the time I was diagnosed, almost 5 years, and then almost 6 years when by the time I got medically retired from the Army.
Was it was it devastating at the time to think like?
I was kind of like in disbelief a little bit, and yeah, I didn't fully understand what it meant, and eventually I realized, okay, I'm not fit for duty anymore. Yeah, I will be.
Once you like learned that, was it?
Yeah, it was. I was kind of in a transition stage in the military. I wasn't sure what my next step was going to be, where I was going to go.
Were you planning on being in the military long term, or were you?
I wasn't sure. I wasn't planning on getting out right then. I was just kind of seeing what the next step was going to be. But yeah, then this happened, and I knew I was going to be
Discharged.
medically retired, right? And so, I had maybe 7 or 8 months after I got diagnosed that I was still working, and while they were kind of medically.
Yeah, you were able to. Once you were diagnosed, you actually got like a pretty cool job, right? Like
was before that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was working. I had a bunch of different jobs in the Army. I was, when I first got in, right after college, I was basically my first job after college. I was leading a platoon in Iraq.
So you graduated from
UConn,
right?
Yep.
Where you went through ROTC.
Yep.
And then from there went right into the military, and then went right to Iraq right after.
Yeah, had a little bit of training and stuff, and then was in charge of a platoon in Iraq. So I, had to learn quickly
yeah.
and learn how to lead soldiers and all of that. Came back from Iraq, stationed in Germany. I led another platoon there, and then I was put on kind of staff positions after that. And then that last year, just before I got diagnosed, I was on the staff of a 4-star general, actually the highest Army general in Europe. And that was kind of a interesting and fun job, and got to travel all over Europe with these generals, helping out whatever they were doing. And then I came down with diabetes, and there's a big Army hospital in Germany, American Army hospital. So I got diagnosed there, and
were you feeling like how did you find out? Was it just a normal routine?
So when someone comes down with type 1 diabetes, my body's not making insulin, and what happens? You basically start starving, because you need insulin to move glucose into your cells. So I lost a ton of weight. My normal weight is like 155, and I was down to 130 then. So I was really, really skinny. And when you have no insulin in your body, your blood sugars go up and up and up very dangerously high. Okay. Your body wants to get rid of that glucose, so you start urinating it out, basically.
So you're always having to.
So I'm like drinking tons of water and peeing, like waking up like every hour.
Thirsty.
Yeah. So even with the weight loss and that, I still was not thinking anything was wrong. I was like, it's just summertime, and it's hot, and that's that. But I had just had my eyes corrected at the laser eye surgery. The military does that, and I had an eye doctor appointment, and I went to them, and I was like, these eye drops, because you're on all kinds of eye drops after, these eye drops are making me super thirsty. Can I stop taking them?
And they were looking at you probably crazy, like.
Yeah, he was like, that shouldn't be. Sounds like diabetes. You should go talk to a regular doctor. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I went and did, and they're like, yeah, you have diabetes.
Is there a family history, or is it?
Yeah, both sides of my family too. And so, yeah. So yeah, I got diagnosed at the big hospital. They start teaching me how to take insulin, how to check my blood sugar, how to, you have a meal in front of you, how do you calculate how much insulin to take? Because every time you eat, you have to take insulin. You have to set the dose too. So there's a lot involved with that. And I'm sitting down with this doctor, an endocrinologist, and she's going over all of this, and she's talking about this meal and this meal, and counting the carbs in the meal and taking the right dose of insulin, and everything is like carbs, insulin, carbs, insulin. And at the time, I knew nothing about nutrition or
Diet or anything.
diabetes, but I'm like, do you want me to just not eat those carbs, and will that make things easier? And this is 2006.
It seemed like
2007.
a simple kind of like, she's like, all right, if you eat this much carbs, you need this much insulin.
Yeah.
And you were just like, all right, what if I just don't eat these carbs? I don't need to
Yeah, and
a
it's
lot
not
less
like
insulin, right?
ancient history. Like a lot was known about nutrition then, 13 years ago. And she said, no, don't do that. It won't do you any good. And you need to eat those carbs. And I was like, okay, you're the doctor. I'm going to, I'm very disciplined with diet. I'll eat whatever you tell me to eat, which is basically the standard American food pyramid diet, like 8 to 11 servings of bread and pasta a day.
Right.
Which is even someone with not diabetic should not eat that.
Is that still the stand? I haven't looked at it in a long time since like school.
I don't know if they still do the food pyramid, but there's been no change really of like recommendations like that. Yeah, and she said it won't do you any good to cut those carbs, and you need them. And I know now, and I fortunately I kept educating myself after this. Both those statements were not true.
Right.
Now, cutting out all my carbs from my diet doesn't mean I don't still need insulin. It just means I need very, very small amounts of insulin. And when you're balancing meals, like counting carbs and taking insulin, you're using these high doses of, a normal diabetic is eating these high doses of carbs and high doses of insulin. And this balancing act means you're going to swing up or down very easily all the time. Right. Now with me, low carb diet, low dose of insulin, it's very easy to match those two things up. And my blood sugars are very, very stable, to the point where when I go in to a doctor's appointment and they look at my blood work, they look at my blood sugars, they sometimes don't believe I have diabetes because I'm so well controlled. Yeah. So, a couple of years after I gotten out, I'm getting smarter and smarter. My blood sugars are normalizing. Every time I'm going to the doctor, they're not really being supportive of this. Sometimes they're saying you don't have diabetes. Sometimes they're saying, your blood sugars are good, but it's not healthy for you. And
you were telling them that you're eating a low carb diet,
Mm-hmm.
and they were telling you it's not healthy for you. It's not a good idea.
Yep.
What was their reason? Like, what were they saying?
They're saying kind of like that first doctor, you need to eat those carbs, and they're part of a healthy, balanced diet. And and the thing is, so there's in nutrition, there are certain things that are essential, like essential meaning that you need those things to live. Essential fatty acids, like you've heard of this, omega-3, omega-6.
Fish oil, all that.
Essential means you need to have that in your diet, or it's gonna, get you sick and ultimately kill you.
Yeah.
Vitamins and minerals are essential. Essential amino acids, those are the building blocks of proteins that you need.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. There is no in any, you can't find this in any nutrition or diet textbook. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Your body does need glucose, but your body can make glucose from protein and fats. You don't need to take carbohydrates in. So by definition, it's not an essential nutrient, and so you don't need to eat it. Now it could be, you can eat it and your body can use it for energy. But it's very easy to overdo carbohydrates, even if you're not a diabetic. And
they don't really curb your hunger. It just
doesn't. Yeah, and
fast digesting.
And yeah, it's very easy for us to overeat carbs. It's a bit tougher to overeat protein. Like, how many steaks can you sit down and eat until you're
It's
full?
a lot easier to eat a whole pizza than it is to like just keep eating more and more steak,
or omelets, or So yeah, I kept reading everything I could on nutrition and diabetes, and I realized that what I was doing was making sense. And there are very few doctors out there, actually. There are some, but very few that are actually doing this method and advocating for normal non-diabetic blood sugars in diabetics, which should be the standard. So I'm like, all right, I got to do this myself.
So after, just real quick, after you got out of the Army, what was the timeline to when you started at University of Bridgeport?
So I got out in 2007. I took a year off after the Army, and
You've been to 75 countries,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. A lot of that was when I was stationed in Germany, and I can do weekend trips to all over Europe and but yeah, after the Army, I took a year off. I went like the long way home and backpacked around the world. Then I actually went to work with my family for 2 years, who do scrap metal recycling.
That's
in Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Canada.
Yep. And meanwhile, I'm still learning more about diabetes and nutrition and all this stuff. And then at that point, I was like, I got to do this myself.
And that led you to naturopathy?
First I started, first I took another year off and before start, I think it's an important thing that we don't do much in this country is the gap year. Around the world, people will take that, like in the UK, Australians and the rest of the world, they're in between college and work or before college, they'll do that year off and do something different. I've been lucky enough to do that twice.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did another year and then started at UB with the nutrition masters because I just wanted to be a nutritionist.
UB?
And they have a really good master's in nutrition program there. And I started with that using my GI Bill. And I realized that I could do I had never heard of naturopathic medicine, and the school had this program. And I could also do this program and have a bigger scope of practice than just being a nutritionist. I could do a lot more as a physician than as a nutritionist. So I said, okay, why don't I do that? And then I added that program.
Did you finish the nutrition masters first?
No. I started the nutrition, and then started the naturopathic degree, and then I did them both simultaneously, and I graduated them both together.
Did you find in the nutrition masters classes, like, were they telling you that, or were you learning that like carbohydrates are a balanced part of the diet, or were they more up to speed on?
They were given kind of. They weren't giving any specific dietary things like that. I mean, there was classes where we would talk about different diets, like paleo diet, and that's kind of how I started eating the way I am. I was doing a low carb paleo diet, and they would talk about different diets and the pros and cons of those diets, and but not advocating for anything in particular.
At what point did you like really cut carbohydrates out altogether?
It was probably, it's been about 10 years for me. So, and it was that's about 3 years after I got out of the Army and diagnosed. So yeah, so about
did you
10
start
years.
feeling better right away, or?
Well, at the start, when I first did it, so type 1 diabetes, when you're initially diagnosed, you still have a little bit of pancreas function. You have a little bit of insulin left. And when I first did a low carb diet, I actually didn't need any insulin because I had enough endogenous insulin in my pancreas to cover the low carb foods.
Got it.
And that really blew me away. I was like, what's going on? And didn't know this was possible. You can kind of extend that if you maintain the low carb diet, but I kind of went back and forth at first, and I didn't keep up with it. And eventually, my pancreas now doesn't make any, but still, the low carb diet is great because I can use very, very, very low doses and keep my blood sugars very stable. I've been eating this way for 10 years, and I'm probably healthier right now as a diabetic than I would have been had I never gotten diabetes, because I make diet so important and it's really given me, a good perspective on things, and I keep myself way healthier than I would have ever been.
Yeah. Nobody will ever, and if you didn't just say all the things that you've already done in your life, nobody would ever guess how old you are either. Can you take a guess?
You want me to take a guess?
If he didn't just tell you, like,
Well,
obviously-
I'm horrible with this, but I'd probably say like mid 30s.
I'm 40.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll be 41 in November.
Yeah, I was gonna go like 33, 35 range, to be honest.
when I
Take that.
first met Ryan and didn't like know anything about him just from jiu-jitsu, I thought he was like 30 years old.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, and I take life at my own pace, and but diet is important, and I've never, even before the diabetes, I've never been like an overeater, kept my weight good, and it helps you. It helps keep you young, and slows down aging, and I think that's important. Yeah. And the fact that I have diabetes is, there are risk factors with diabetes. There are inevitable outcomes for most type 1 diabetics. Like, you're going to get complications in 10, 20 years. But I've basically eliminated the chance of any of that by keeping my blood sugars completely normal. And
what are the major complications that come up?
So when you have high blood sugar, it destroys cells, basically. And the cells that get hurt first, very small ones, cells and nerves, like your retinas, like your kidneys.
Oh yeah, a lot of diabetics lose sight.
Yeah, retinopathy it's called, and or kidney damage. That's why diabetics a lot of times end up in dialysis centers, or the small nerves and blood vessels in the extremities, like fingers and toes. That's why diabetics you'll see have to get amputations. Yeah, those are all unfortunately kind of common, if not like in the years after diagnosis, 10, 20 years, you're going to start seeing some of those things. Yeah.
And you're saying now with the diet that you've, kind of mastered, I'd say, you're saying that has helped you probably eliminate them completely, all those risks for you, you'd say?
Yeah, well, all of those complications are from high blood sugars, right? And I maintain normal blood sugars, probably even slightly better than someone without diabetes. So yeah, those just aren't going to happen with me because of the control that I have.
You should write a book about it.
Well, there's one doctor that I followed for this approach, and his book is like the Bible for diabetes, and I couldn't really top that.
Yeah,
I've thought about making kind of like a more like user-friendly guide, visual kind of guide for diabetes, and I might do something like that one day. But I am helping diabetics.
Yeah, no, of course.
My in my practice, about half of my patients are diabetics. The other half are, like, you name it, chronic disease that somebody would want to see a naturopathic physician for. And my name is out there in the diabetes world, and people will come from far to see me. New York, New Jersey, Maine, Massachusetts. I'll get patients from, and I get good results. I get them on the same protocol that I am, and get their blood sugars under control, and it's great. Yeah, it's great to be able to help people like that.
We'll circle back to that, but all right. So back to start, going to the naturopathic program.
Yeah.
So you jumped into that program, learned a lot, right? You're essentially an ND is the same. You've gone through the same schooling as an MD, right? But
it's different. I mean, there's a lot of overlap. The basic kind of sciences, a lot of the basic medical areas, but there's also a huge focus on kind of natural methods like nutrition. We have 2 years of nutrition classes, whereas medical doctors, unfortunately, don't have any requirement, really. They're lucky if they get a semester of a nutrition class. And you think about all the chronic diseases we have, like heart disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Diabetes, of course, obesity, all these are the most common ailments we have around. These are the most common kind of medicated diseases that we have. And how often do you think people sit down with their doctor and talk about like diet and lifestyle and
Never.
sleep?
The
Never,
only
right?
time
all
you
that?
really ever go to
And-
the doctor is if you're like
Dying.
you're sick.
Yeah.
And you
it's not-
need,
yeah.
you know what I mean, like antibiotics or something. But it's never for like a holistic approach. Yeah.
And it's not like pseudoscience to say like diet and lifestyle changes will improve, if not get rid of all of those kind of chronic diseases that are like the most common ailments in this country. And in my schooling, I went in knowing that I wanted to do, diabetes. I wanted to be the diabetes specialist and all of this. But then, I saw that across the board, like, especially all these chronic diseases, most doctors are treating it just like my diabetes has been treated. The goal is not optimal health and elimination of these things. The goal is usually just suppressing symptoms
Mhm.
and not getting to the root cause of whatever is causing these things.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually go to a naturopathic doctor, Dr. Garapy. Shout out Dr. Garapy.
Huh.
I love you. He's just the man. I mean, from my experience with a regular doctor, traditional doctor, and my naturopathic doctor, it's been like night and day.
Yeah.
Dr. Garapy will explain literally everything to me
Yeah.
in any way that I will understand it. You know what I mean? Me personally. And I've just always appreciated that. And he's helped me fix things, you know what I mean? That have been, that, like you said, another doctor would have just suppressed those issues and probably made it worse.
Yeah. And that's awesome that he's like that. And that's a very important part of our profession is educating our patients
Mhm.
because, sometimes people will come in and just want the magic pill, even the magic natural pill. And, I like to explain to people that there is no magic pill. There's nothing that's going to cure you by just taking one thing, but combination of things and also you understanding why this is helping you is so important. Yeah. So I spend a lot of time making sure my patients understand, the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, especially my diabetic patients. So when I have a new diabetic patient, their first appointment is usually 2 hours, and there's a lot to talk about. The diet is one big thing, but there's a lot involved in managing diabetes, and sometimes those 2 hours isn't even enough. But I try to make sure that they're educated on everything, because if they don't walk out of there understanding it, they're not gonna be successful. And it's a unique disease, diabetes is, in that the person with it controls everything themselves. They control the dose of their medication every time they take it.
Right.
You don't do that in a lot of other diseases, and of course you control the food that you put in your body. So for that reason, yeah, it's very important that I educate them on why these choices are important for them, and how they're gonna benefit from it.
Who's like your like when you get a new patient, are they usually on a higher carb diet, or are there?
It'll be mixed. A lot of times people have been doing research and kind of discovered this method I'm doing, and then they'll find my name and find I'm in the area, and they'll come see me just for some support in implementing this. Because like I said, the diet is huge. The diet helps a lot, but there's a lot more other than just eating these foods to manage things. So, and sometimes people don't have a good diet, and we have to start from scratch. And yeah, so I've had it both ways, and for not diabetic patients, other patients too. I mean, basically 100% of my patients that come in, we're talking about food.
Right.
There may be other things that we do, but always nutrition is important, and other lifestyle things. Sleep is important, and I'm not against pharmaceuticals too. I mean, I work with an MD in my office, and so if pharmaceuticals are needed, I'll have
Yeah, after your so after UB,
Mhm.
where'd you go from there? Did you start your own business right away?
Yeah, about I had some time after school. We're taking boards and stuff. Then I worked at the school for a little while, and then opened my office in Fairfield with a
With
couple other colleagues. Yeah.
Okay, so you were the people from UB you opened your
Yep.
office with, and then you want to just talk about your the Connecticut Integrative Medical Center, like what exactly that is, like who
Yeah.
works there, what your purpose and goal is.
Yeah. So there are 5 of us there now, and so I've got an MD. He's a cardiologist by trade. He taught a class at UB. That's how I got linked up with him.
And he's a pretty, I think you were telling me, he's a pretty busy doctor in New York, right?
He's got a big practice in New York, and so he comes here to Connecticut 2 days a week. He's a very interesting guy. He actually, and it's kind of cool because of my area now. He worked with Dr. Atkins at the Atkins Center.
Okay.
In New
Atkins
York.
diet.
Yeah. So
Wow.
he
That's intense.
yeah he was his friend and colleague of Dr. Atkins, and yeah, there's a lot of like misinformation about Atkins. I think that approach is similar to what I do. I don't like calling things diets because diet
It's
means like
temporary.
it's a temporary thing to lose weight, and I think for long-term success you need a lifestyle change that you can keep.
Jake loves that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But there's misinformation about Dr. Atkins. That did you ever? How did Dr. Atkins die?
I have no idea. I did. I
I was. You know what's funny? Yeah,
dead.
it's so funny. I was gonna ask you, is he still alive?
No, he
Well,
passed
now he's
away, like,
not,
I
yeah.
think 2000 or
How'd he
2001.
die?
So there is misinformation that he had a heart attack from his diet and died, but that's not true. He did have heart issues, but it was like it was a viral infection, and he slipped on the ice in the winter in New York and hit his head and went into a coma. And
Eventually.
yeah,
passed.
so it had nothing to do with his
Actual diet.
his diet. And actually, my colleague, his name is Dr. Fratellone, like looked at his blood work when he was in a coma, and his lipids his cholesterol was fine, and his heart was healthy, and so he was completely fine.
So did when he died, did they kind of run away with that, the media, I'd say, and be like, oh, this diet is horrible actually because the creator,
the sugar lobbyist,
yeah,
the high carb,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been pushback to that approach, and it's only like recently that like low carb and keto diets are kind of becoming bigger and bigger. So yeah, there always has been pushback, despite people having a lot of good success with it. But it's also important that a lot of times people just try new diets without proper like medical supervision. And any diet, keto diet, paleo diet, vegan diet, whatever, if you don't do it the right way, you're going to have issues. And that goes for what I do too. And I think it's always important to get a professional that knows what they're doing to guide you through it.
So at your integrative medical center, it's kind of like a holistic approach between all of you? Like if you think somebody needs pharmaceutical help, you'll bounce them over to the medical doctor. If the medical doctor thinks
and he has a very holistic approach too. So he's an MD, but he kind of takes our approach. But we have him there, for that kind of stuff too. He also does a lot of IV therapy. So people come in for high dose antioxidant drips. We
like
see
vitamin drips, stuff like that.
Yeah. So like vitamin C and other things. And so we get a lot of like people who are looking for kind of complementary treatment for cancer, Lyme disease, and a lot of different things which high dose vitamin drips can help quite a bit. And I've seen some really great things done to cancer patients
that come from
with that. Yeah. I mean, they're still getting their
chemo,
traditional treatments, but I'm fairly certain that them coming and getting these high doses of vitamin C and other things is helping them a lot too. Because so it's like if you were to take vitamin C, you would take like 500 milligrams, maybe 1,000 milligrams. You can get an IV of like 10, 20, 30 grams or even more. And it can have a lot of, really positive benefits for
I'm
you.
about to do that.
Yeah.
All right. So who are the other three
So we have
specialties that you're?
So we have another naturopathic physician, Dr. Cook is her name, and she sees a lot of like women's health and does a lot of the same things I do too.
Mhm.
We have a chiropractor. He's actually a chiropractor and physical therapist, Dr. Santora. And
it's a lot of schooling.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then we have like a health coach. She does Reiki therapy. She does meditation. And her name is Melissa Squeo. She just started working with us. Yep. And then on top of that, we have we do an infrared sauna. We have, which are great. I mean, all saunas are great. A lot of health benefits for using them. But infrared is really good. The infrared light, which is very safe. It's not like, UV light is what's from the sun that can burn you, cause skin cancer. But infrared light is very safe, and it can kind of penetrate your skin and stimulate your cells. So very great for cardiovascular health and kind of detoxification. Sweating off, metals or other things. I've used it for jujitsu to cut weight too.
Get ready.
Yeah. And and then another thing at our office too is we do very, very comprehensive lab testing too.
Blood labs, everything.
Yeah. So, I'll send someone to Quest for, all the basic things, but I'll also look at very expanded panels, like your typical cholesterol panel, LDL, HDL, triglycerides, total cholesterol. I'll do a panel that breaks down the individual particle sizes of the LDL, the bad cholesterol, to see if you're actually really at risk for heart disease. People a lot of times will come in and we'll do a food sensitivity testing.
See like what disturbs their gut and whatnot.
Yeah. Yep. Which can, having poor digestion can manifest in a lot of different health issues, like just environmental and pet allergies, asthma, skin issues, a lot of different things other than just, GI issues themselves, like reflux or irritable bowels. And so a lot of patients I'll run food sensitivity testing on and get a lot of good information and help clean up their diet with that. And a lot of times it's, healthy foods that are actually bothering them, so they don't know to remove them. So we do that. I've done a lot of stool testing. So not a fun one to collect, but we'll take that and we'll send it to a lab, and we can look at someone's microbiome, look at all the bacteria in their gut, the good and bad, and see what's going on, and also look at different metabolites that end up in your stool and see you're doing. So that's a great test I do too, to get a good assessment of someone's health. And I'll do other things like vitamin and nutrient testing.
At what point does somebody usually come to see you? Is it like are they usually struggling, or is it people trying to maintain, or just?
A lot of times I've been to a million doctors, this specialist for this specialist for that, and I'm not getting better, and I'm on all kinds of medications and can't get to the bottom of this. And that's a big problem too with most kind of conventional doctors is, you go to a doctor and you tell them you have reflux, so they'll send you to the GI doctor.
The GI doctor just focuses on the gastrointestinal. Yeah,
and say you have asthma too, and then you'll go to maybe the pulmonologist. And no one you don't really get much of putting it all together, because a lot of times a lot of health issues are all connected and have similar kind of root causes, and they never get all addressed together. So a lot of times patients will come to be frustrated that they're going to all these doctors and getting treated kind of symptomatically for all these different things, and then never really getting better.
I remember, yeah, one of our mutual friends went to see you, and for her, she said, I think it was breathing issues, and like you had her change a whole bunch of different things about her diet, cut out dairy,
Yep.
low carb, and her breathing issues
Yeah,
actually
she
got
had
better.
asthma was improved, and yeah, and she's been same thing. She's been to a bunch of different doctors and never really felt as good as she is now, and never kind of resolved things like she has now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get a lot of patients like that. Sometimes people just want to come in for preventative health, which I think is great. Like, come to see someone like me before you have issues to make
it's funny,
sure.
like nobody really ever, like everybody waits until the last minute, like when something's going seriously wrong, to kind of seek
Yeah.
out medical advice.
Yep.
It's never like, what can I do to help prevent all of this, and nobody, like, I mean, what we eat is such a huge part of our lives, and
Mhm.
like we never really think like, man, I'm putting all of this into my body
Mhm.
all day long.
Junk.
Yeah, like what should I actually be putting into my body? What kind of tests can be done to like actually? I think it's a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like
Yeah.
it's most people don't know.
Right.
Yeah, and you think you're invulnerable
Mm-hmm.
until
Yeah, until something happens.
something comes along. But yeah, I mean, if someone is a little proactive and goes and sees a professional for preventative medicine, it can give them a lot of benefits long term. Yeah, yeah. We do get that from time to time. People coming in for that, which is great.
What and then like just for people who are, you've when you were diagnosed with diabetes, like the way that you took it, I'm sure like a lot of other people can be devastating to them, or really any chronic like illness, right? Like
Mhm.
anything like that.
Mhm.
What's your advice to somebody who just gets the news, like, your life is changing forever from this point moving forward?
Yeah, I like to tell patients too that I'm like living proof that like a, a diagnosis of a chronic illness doesn't have to mean your health isn't in jeopardy. You can get things normalized, and even like me, like I said, think I'm healthier than I would have ever been
Right.
had I not gotten diabetes. It's something I have to stay on top of all my life, but if I do all the right things, then I'm going to be healthier for it.
Got it.
Yeah, and it goes across the board for most chronic conditions.
Yeah. Diet. What exactly is, like, what's your daily kind of, like, what are you eating all day long?
um, I'm pretty. I keep my meals pretty simple: protein and vegetables, non low carb,
Non-starchy.
non-starchy vegetables.
Which would be, what are some examples? Just
broccoli, cauliflower, any leafy greens, asparagus. You can go on chilies, peppers.
chili peppers.
Brought you some chilies. I grow.
Yeah, you have a good farm at your house, right?
I have 30 different chili plants in my garden. Yeah.
Nice.
We're definitely gonna do a taste test on here. You got to. We got to.
We will.
Yeah, I'm. It's not for everyone, but I'm a big advocate for the intermittent fasting thing.
Mhm.
So I know that's gotten a lot of buzz lately.
Like a 16/8 kind of thing?
Yeah, I've kind of just always done that in my life. I'm not like
A
really
breakfast person.
Yeah, and I'm glad kind of the nutrition world is moving away from like you need 3 meals a day or breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Some people it's important if you have a lot of things to do in the morning. If you have a lot of physical activity to do, it might be important. I think for most, skipping breakfast is fine.
I'm not even really hungry, like you do get in a routine of eating in the morning, but like after you break that routine, like I'm not even really hungry until 1, 2 o'clock anyways.
Me too.
It's just like you grow up with like this, like that
Condition.
schedule. It's like, all right, wake up when you're a kid. It's wake up, eat breakfast really fast, get on the bus, get to school, wait, snack time, lunch, and then you kind of just bring those habits with you into adulthood. But it's like I'm not even hungry in the morning. I just
I mean, I'll have a coffee in the morning. That's it.
Yeah.
And
me too.
If you think about it, like all night, you're using your internal energy stores to keep your body going, right?
Right.
So you have kind of quick internal energy called glycogen.
Yep.
And your muscle stores some, your liver stores some. And, once you kind of deplete that, then you can burn fat. And, so throughout the night, you're going to be using that up. You're going to be burning a little bit of fat. And if you push that to the morning, you're going to keep burning. But as soon as you eat, then you've got new energy to use. So it can help with weight loss. And I don't like doing it more than the kind of 16-8 thing, because then you can start losing lean,
Start burning more muscle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So I don't do usually more than that. And then, my meals are, like I said, protein and non-starchy veg. And for me, I'm great. I'm satiated and I like the food. And the protein foods are very nutrient dense too. Vitamins and minerals, and I do it. I know it's not for everyone, but I do a lot of organ meats too.
Right,
I love liver, and liver's like nature's multivitamin. It's got so much in it, and I do that maybe once a week. And
where do you buy liver?
I get grass-fed liver from Whole Foods.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never even noticed it in the.
And it's in their freezer.
Oh, okay.
On the side, yeah.
Got it.
Have you ever eaten liver?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, right.
So it's very, very rich tasting, and
I know they have it at that Spanish restaurant Azteca.
Oh, really?
On Pequannock Street.
Oh, I'm gonna have to try.
Yeah.
But it's very rich tasting, and there's a reason it's rich tasting, because it's so rich with like nutrients, and that.
Is it chewy or is it
No, it's tender.
Okay. I could probably do it then, as long as it's
Yeah.
not like
yeah, rubber.
Yeah.
It's because we're not used to eating meats that taste strong like this, and I think a common way to kind of cook it would be like cook up some onions and maybe bacon, and then lightly fry the liver.
Yep.
You don't want to cook it too much, and give it a try.
That's all right. So one other thing you just made me think of, like you said, bacon. A lot of people are still in the mindset that your high fat foods like pork items, bacon, stuff like that are not good for you. Is it? So it's part of like your balanced.
I
think it comes back to the cholesterol thing. Like people still think that like high fat foods are going to lead to heart disease and.
Yeah, and most of when you get your blood cholesterol tested, and if it's high, the majority of the cholesterol in your blood is not from that cholesterol in your food, which is when you eat it, it's mostly completely broken down and kind of metabolized. The cholesterol in your blood is coming from your liver.
Right.
So it's not. There is a little bit
So
that comes from
kind of
food, but most of it is coming from your liver, and it's usually due to inflammation or some other underlying issue that's causing the cholesterol to go up. And there's so many people get put on statin drugs, which just stop your body from making the LDL cholesterol, which is not not going after the reason why it's being elevated, but just stopping the production of it. And cholesterol is actually really important for health.
Right.
Our brain is made out of cholesterol. Our hormones are derived from like cholesterol precursors. So yeah, it's very important. And my cholesterol is, I eat animal fat with every meal, and my cholesterol is great. It wasn't when I was eating high carb diets, and also a big kind of culprit in poor health and elevated cholesterol and heart disease are these seed oils that are way too commonly used.
Like what? Like grape seed.
Yeah, and like soy oil and peanut oil and corn oil and all these industrial seed oils.
Is it hydrogenated oils?
Yeah. So if you think about it, I think one of the more common ones used, especially in like kind of industrial cooking, is corn oil. Like corn's not even an oily food.
Right. Yeah.
And the way they get these oils from these industrial seed oils the process looks more like refining gasoline than it does making a food product. The oils that are good for us are the ones that you can just press and
It comes out.
Comes out.
Olive oil, stuff like that.
olive oil, coconut, avocado.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Avocado oil is cool.
Yeah.
All right.
You could think of
Check.
the good plant oils as the fruit oils.
Mm-hmm.
So, olives, coconuts, avocados, and animal oils are fine. I mean, you should get from a good source. I try to get, if I can,
Grass-fed,
local, grass fed
Mhm.
for my animal foods. But yeah, it's a myth that these animal fats are causing
that.
yeah.
And then for somebody Mike's doing a
Plant-based.
1 month long vegan diet.
How's it been?
Good. Honestly, it's the only times I want meat, I guess you could say, or are before I eat. You know what I mean? Like I'm just so hungry. And once I eat the veggies or whatever, it's all good. My energy's fine. I feel slim. I feel like light.
Mhm.
And before I wasn't like eating the traditional American diet. I'd say I'd more have a Mediterranean diet, like fish, chicken, veggies, basically and then I can't say no to pizza. But yeah, it's been cool. I won't do it forever. It's just I don't know. It's the way my girlfriend even says is like it's like a bougie diet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Essentially, like it's very like first world diet to me. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, with that, anytime someone goes on tries a new diet, new lifestyle approach, usually people do well for it because they're very meticulous about sticking to it, and
You cut out all the other stuff.
cut
like
out the bad
sugar,
stuff.
Yeah.
And so it can have a lot of benefits. With the vegan diet, a lot of people feel great on it. There are things that you're going to be deficient in, like a lot of B vitamins,
Yeah.
especially B12, iron.
I take multis for that stuff, to be honest. So I'm making sure that I'm getting that too. Shout out Dr. Garpy.
Yeah, like you're saying too, it's kind of a first world kind of thing. So I could make strong arguments about the nutritional deficiencies of it. So a lot of times people will say, okay, I just don't want to kill animals, right?
It's not me.
But what we don't realize is what farming actually involves. When a combine goes through a field, it's killing rodents, birds,
Everything.
lizards, amphibians, and you can look it up how much, like, per square acre, how many animals are killed when a combine goes through a field. It's a lot. Now, if I'm eating a local grass-fed beef, one animal died that can feed many,
a lot of people.
versus this farming that is very destructive and taking land away from animals
Yeah.
and destroying the topsoil. Because if you just grow one crop, it depletes the soil, and I don't know what it is, but we only have so many
Layers
harvests left before our soils are going to be completely gone. But grass-fed beef builds the topsoil because they're just chomping on that grass, and that grass is rebuilding topsoil. And it's really reassuring that we're moving more and more towards that, because we used to have this huge Great Plains region of our country of grass, where animals can be grazing right now. But now we're growing corn, soy, and wheat there instead. So, which is destroying the soil and kind of making foods that aren't, in my opinion, so good for us. So yeah, I mean, you could argue that a local omnivorous diet is a little more ethical. On top of that, if I'm eating a local grass-fed beef, I can get that in December. I can get that in January. If you're eating a vegan diet, where's your food coming from in the winter?
Right.
It's gotta be trucked in. It's gotta be shipped in from overseas. So it's tougher to be local, which is really, really important for kind of
Right.
environmental reasons. Yeah.
No, yeah, I definitely am. I'm counting the days. You know what I mean? I really am. I am.
Yeah.
I've done it. I'm doing it with a buddy of mine, and it's been a cool experience up until this point. But I'm over it, man.
And I do have patients that are vegetarians and vegans, and like we were talking about before, I try to educate them on everything that that how I feel. Many of them want to keep the diet, and that's fine. I still work with them, probably like how your naturopath is working with you to make sure that you're eating the right foods, you're taking proper supplements.
You could still eat like a high fat, high protein vegan diet, right?
I do know of some people doing a keto vegan diet.
Okay.
It's tricky, but it's possible. But it's possible.
See, like tricky, like see, just like eating, like you said, a kind of a normal, in my opinion, like you have your chicken, you have your meat, your red meat once in a while. For me, and like fish, it's just like such a simpler lifestyle. Like there's no complications throughout my day of if I'm going out or you know what I mean. It's like just way easier.
Yep. Yeah.
And now that I'm hearing all this good news about bacon.
Yeah.
And I think having an omnivorous diet is definitely a local, naturally raised omnivorous diet is the healthiest option. A lot of times people will start a vegetarian or vegan diet, and that turns into just like pizza and French fries.
Right, because you could just grab
you could just go get a large
with no nutritional value.
A couple large fries and call it a day.
Yeah, and it's
then
like
tell people you're a vegan.
Yeah, just eating lots of carbs, lots of bread, and bread is such a staple in way too many people's diets, right? And bread is super nutritionally barren, high energy but low nutrients in it. For that reason, like legally, if you ever look at a label on like bread products, they enrich it or they fortify it, right?
What about, is there a balance of meat that you should eat? Like, should it be, a lot of red meat, a lot of chicken, a lot, other than like incorporating in liver if you're really getting into it?
Yeah. I mean, you're hearing more and more people doing the carnivore diet,
right?
Too. And
just meat. Yeah.
And it can work. And it surprisingly, if done right and I'm not advocating it, it can work for some people. A lot of people who have a lot of health issues, especially food sensitivities and stuff that just can't go away otherwise, they find relief from doing the pure carnivore diet. But if done right, and you're eating the organ meats and bone broth and eating animal food sources like we're supposed to be eating, there's actually no nutrient deficiencies. The only thing you really need to add is like salt to your diet. But otherwise, everything is in there. And you would think like, oh, what about things like vitamin C? Don't we need to be eating oranges? But the organ meats actually have vitamin C.
Wow.
And, on that note too, it was a big marketing thing with the orange growers in Florida that we need orange juice for vitamin C. But all vegetables have, not all, but many have, if not more vitamin C than oranges. Like a serving of cauliflower has the same as an amount of vitamin C as an orange. And here's another thing, that specific nutrient. If you are having vitamin C in foods that are sugary and high in carb, the vitamin C enters our cell through glucose transporters, the same way glucose gets into our cells. So glucose becomes competitive with vitamin C. So if you're getting it from low carb sources, you actually have more vitamin C bioavailable.
Got it.
To use. Yeah. So you need less, basically.
You need less vitamin C if you're eating a lower carb diet.
Yeah, right.
Got it. My you know Anthony, right? My friend Anthony, the electrician.
Yep.
Shout out to Infinity Electric.
Great electrician. Yeah,
He did a lot of work for me.
He was like really overweight. He weighed 240 to maybe almost 250, and he was, you know, he's worked out, very muscular, but at a certain point, like he kind of stopped working out. He got fat, like he got really big. Like we were looking at pictures of him, and he was like, damn, like I can't believe I let myself get to that point, you know. And he was, you know, eating, drinking, and just really just, I mean, he would eat, you know, he was drinking Coca-Cola all day long. It's just, you know, a can of Coke has 40 grams of added sugar to it, you know?
Yeah.
And he got to a breaking point. And I actually, like, every single day I was telling him like how fat he was. Like I would call him up and be like, yeah, you're a fat piece of shit. Like, you know, like just trying to motivate him to change, you know? And that only works to some people.
Yeah.
Me and him have the relationship where I could actually do that with him. But for whatever reason, he got to this breaking point and he started doing a ketogenic diet. So he switched over to basically just, you know, he probably experimented in the beginning, and like he was eating a lot of like the fat bomb things, like which are, I don't know if those are good for you or not, but now he's mostly on like a meat and vegetable, primarily meat diet, and he's down to 180 pounds.
Wow.
You know, I saw him the other day. He's got a 6-pack. Like he looks good. He's the thinnest he's ever been. He said he sleeps better because when he was heavier, he had sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Like he was literally like, when we lived together, I would hear him. Like if I woke up early in the morning, I would hear him. Like it sounded like he was dying in his sleep. You know,
it's really bad. And when you have apnea too, because you're basically waking up throughout the night.
Yeah.
When your airway gets closed up, and it interrupts your sleep throughout the night, so you never cycle through all the stages of sleep. And
you don't get through all the REM sleep and everything.
When that happens too, it causes
insulin resistance and adds to weight gain. So like being heavy can cause apnea, and then apnea makes you even more heavy and makes it even worse. So
it's bad. Yeah.
He said he's like sleeps better now. He feels way better. He breathes better. Like everything, you know.
I'm about to end this diet today.
More energy.
Yeah, and you brought up too, he was doing like kind of a high fat thing at first, and
I'm not afraid of fat for like the cholesterol thing, but I don't like to overdo fat because fat is a dense energy source. So a lot of people will hear about a keto diet and try to do this very high fat version of it to ramp up their blood ketones. But you can actually gain weight doing that because fat is a very dense calorie source. And if you're, you know, adding, you know, 2 cups of heavy cream to your coffee every day,
right? Yeah,
you're gonna put on weight. And it's better, like you said, what he changed to is just sticking to protein and veg.
Yeah. So do you is that like a keto kind of myth? Like you don't like ketogenic is high fat.
Yeah, I mean, there's no
protein.
There's no like
low
clear
carb, right?
definition of what like the fat amount and protein amount in the keto diet. So some people interpret it.
So there's no reason to be eating like massive amounts of butter. Stuff.
There are sometimes.
Okay. So the original kind of like kind of medical use of the ketogenic diet was for epilepsy.
Okay.
And it like completely zaps epilepsy.
If you just cut carbs out, eat high fat
keto, so your blood ketones go up, and blood ketones are really efficient in the brain. Like back when I was in school and I had exams coming up, I would ramp my fat up so I'd have high blood ketones because my brain is like way sharper when that happens. But again, it can contribute to weight gain. So I think unless you're suffering from epilepsy or it is being used for other kind of neurological diseases too. So in that sense, it could help. But otherwise, I think people should stick to the kind of lower fat, high protein version of keto.
Got it.
Yeah.
What about for, we briefly talked about this before, like I'm training for an ultra marathon right now. So like I ran 10 miles before I came here.
Wow.
And I'm like, I always kind of ate a lower carbohydrate diet. Definitely not like a keto diet, but I always like never over, like I tried not to overdo carbohydrates anyways, just because I don't like that heavy kind of feeling, you know?
Yeah.
But I know like, yeah, like the fatty foods and protein kind of sits more like, you know.
Yeah. I think, yeah, when we were talking about this before, I think, I mean, I'm not a huge expert on the extreme like distance running
Yeah.
in the diet, but I would say that for your training and regular life, I would keep things lower in carb. But like when it comes to like really long runs and competitions, so when you're on a low carb diet, your body is throughout the day using protein and replenishing all the glycogen in your body. But when it comes to like the actual, ultra marathon runs,
Where you need that quick energy, that's when you
need to replenish that glycogen quicker. And I think it's more efficient to have some carbohydrate and glucose, even fast acting glucose for the actual performance. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think I believe there is a keto low carb famous distance runner, right?
Distance runner.
I forget his name.
About it. He's
I know who you're talking about too. I forgot his name. I'm gonna look it up.
And I think he does exactly that too. He's basically like a carnivore throughout all his training stuff, but when it comes to competitions, he
longer runs and
putting glucose down.
Yeah, a lot of. I was reading like a lot of people just use like the energy gels, like stuff like that, which are just basically just high doses of carbohydrates for just while you're racing, stuff like that.
You're gonna do a 100-mile run? Is that an ultra marathon?
I'm gonna try to. I've done like a 50 miler before. I've done 50 Ks. Our buddy Chuck though, he does a lot. He's going to do 100 miles. I think I'm gonna try to get out there and see how far I could get.
Mm-hmm.
The furthest I've gone is 55 miles, so I'm trying to.
And what kind of time frame is the 55 mile?
So for me, it took 55 miles. It was a trail run. It took about 11 and a half hours to do it, and like I could run a half marathon or marathon like in a much shorter time period than that kind of split equals out to. But you just like, I don't know.
How are your feet after that?
It feels so good to sit down. Like I've never felt so good sitting down ever before. But so Chuck, he did 100 miles in 18 hours. It took me, so he doubled, it's actually over 100. So he did like 106 miles or whatever it was in 18 hours.
Wow.
For me, 100 miles is probably going to take me, I would imagine, at least 24 hours.
Yep.
If I can get through it. It's like you never know what's going to happen to your body when you're
in
that far,
Yeah, and that's like,
I kind of just want to just do it.
Get past 55.
Yeah. Not only are you going to have to think about replenishing, glucose here, and you have to put a lot of calories through you.
Lots of calories. Yeah.
That's just like an
Carb
insane amount of
before that, all that.
Yeah, physical exertion there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's nutrition is the hardest part to nail down for like long distance ultra marathons. It's really hard to nail down like how many calories per hour you need to be getting in.
We've talked about this before too. Electrolytes, keeping them
water
going in you. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I'm kind of just gonna go feel it out. I'm not gonna push myself too hard because it's a long time to be running. So yeah. But if you don't do it right, you could kind of hit that wall hard, and it's so we'll see what happens. Chuck kind of has it down to a science. Like he knows what works for him.
I feel like he must run those 100-mile races and just
for fun.
It's just and goes to bed. It's life.
It's a weird thing to see because like, all right, so just for instance, like you see people like crying during these things, like people have mental breakdowns, and like it's probably like it's definitely like a spiritual kind of experience that you have, and you get to know yourself pretty well. You're in the woods by yourself for a long time. Like you don't really see anybody unless Chuck's running up behind you, lapping you. You know? So, but like you see people really, really struggling through all these things, and then you see somebody like Chuck, who's just looked like he's just running the whole time. Like
and it's laps too.
It's a 10-mile loop that we're going to do. So it's hard. It's a mind fuck. Yeah. It gets to you.
I have one actually twice in my life. There's this festival in the Netherlands
Yep.
where it's 120-mile walk
Okay.
over 4 days.
And you've done that?
Twice, yeah. Yep.
120 in 4 days, and you sleep a little bit.
It started off as a military thing. So there's all these military teams that go, and that's I did it the first year with my army unit from Germany. And yeah, whatever, 120 divided by 4 days, and yeah, it takes basically all day. When I did it with the military, I'm wearing boots and
rock on
in a
and all
ruck
that.
on, and it was rough. I lost like 4 toenails during that. It just fell off.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, that happens. Your feet are banged up after.
I went back and did it as a civilian, and it's crazy because it's like I think there's like 50,000 people that go and do this. So it's like a reverse parade. So it's like this 50,000 people all walking these routes every day, different routes every day, and it's a great kind of thing. Doing it with normal shoes on and not the ruck was much better, but still pretty grueling.
Yeah. There's another guy that we met at the race that we were going to. His name is Billy. He's on Instagram at Billy the Trainer. He does like, I don't know how many races he's done, but he's done Spartan races, marathons, ultra marathons, and he's also a Marine Corps veteran.
Huh.
He runs every single race with a full-sized American flag. He carries it the whole
Oh,
time for
wow.
100 miles, just holding a flag by himself in the woods. You know what I mean? And it's he actually, I don't know the exact stats or numbers for what he just did, but he just was doing for like the last year, I think he was doing a 100-mile ultra marathon every 2 weeks.
Wow.
And he's not running right now. He said he heard his hip is messed up. So
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy.
Huh.
You meet a lot of interesting people doing them. Like there's one woman out there who, I don't know what kind of disability she had, but she had like, the crutches that go around like your arms and stuff. And she was out there. I think she did 100 miles. I don't know.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or maybe the 50-miler, but
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Not really. Are we gonna do a
Yeah.
chill?
Yeah,
chill-
Brian, you want to grab
Well,
those?
actually, if anyone is interested in coming to see me or
That's
has
what I was
any
gonna say.
questions?
Before we do the chili
Yeah.
Sure.
test, you want to just shout out like how people can reach out to
Yeah.
you, where we can find you?
Probably the easiest thing is go to my website. It's www.drattar.com, DRATTAR.com, and all my contact info is on there. And I'm always very whenever I have new patients inquiring, I love having them call me, answering all their questions, make sure it's clear like what my approach is, what their goals are, and happy to talk to people before they book and see what I can do for them. And actually, most importantly, make sure I'm a good fit for them,
Right.
because sometimes there's another doc out there that might be a better fit, and I'll have no problem referring them to them, because I want what's best for the patient, and I want them to get healthy, so feel free to reach out to me on my website, and my practice is in Fairfield, Black Rock.
Turnpike, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And it's the it's the Connecticut
Integrative Medical Center. Yep.
Got it.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, let me grab these.
So, should we? Do you want to try the ghost pepper?
I think we should do
I think we should do
Do
it.
you want to cut it into 4?
Yeah, I'm down. Honestly, I think
Cut-
that's the move.
Cut it into 4 and see.
I don't know if we have a knife, but I have a knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, can you that like the card from over there?
I've been using this guy around here.
Stab somebody with that lately?
Yeah, exactly. Especially over here.
I've eaten the like little slices of the ghost pepper.
Should we just cut little pieces of it right now?
I think we should cut it into 4 and
let's do it.
Let's do the ghost pepper challenge.
Yeah.
Wait, cut this into 4 pieces and eat the whole piece?
Yep.
Yeah.
Scare me.
Yeah, I know.
Before you were saying just cut little pieces about that.
This is like the you ever watch the Hot Ones?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
show.
We want to do stuff like that too over here at Downtime. Hold on, I got you. It's actually I'm using the main program, so it's showing everything. Yeah.
It's a big one too.
Yeah.
Why don't you go down the middle?
Here, you cut it. I'll mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. This is gonna be great.
Did he?
He's going to the
leave?
bathroom.
Oh.
He's coming back. If
And
you-
make sure you
Yeah,
wash your
I
hands.
I have
after.
like wipes for everyone.
I can smell it.
Yeah.
I can smell
It's
I can smell the
it's
heat.
deadly. I'm gonna try to not touch it.
Hold on.
This is not going to be good for our stomachs later on. You're going to try some too, right? Yeah. Me too. I could see. Can you smell it right here?
You know, I'll try to make all four
Equal.
about equal.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big one now.
Seeds.
That's a big pepper.
Yeah, dude.
We'll do these four here. So this is, yeah. Save these. And we'll do these four.
Where does this rank on like the hot meter? with peppers?
At one point, it was the
Yeah,
hottest
Big one,
chili.
right?
But you know, there's like Carolina Reaper now, and there's other ones. But I think it's like 400,000, 500,000 Scoville.
All right. I just want to get reactions and stuff.
Okay, in this one now?
Yeah, sit. Why don't you sit? You could put a chair in between them. Yeah, you'll fit back there. That'll be good.
You want me to just push over?
No. Just because then you're gonna have the mic. You know what I mean? Jake will just move. This is gonna be the promo for this episode. In the promo for sure.
Do you want to continue to do interviews while we're?
Yeah, we could try that. All right,
We're
so
not trapped
just
back here like dying. on
Yeah.
this.
I know.
I'm glad I have coffee to drink. I know
Me
you
too.
guys don't
Water,
have anything
you
but
might-
water. Water
I
doesn't
got a
do
little-
anything.
It does
It
it?
makes it worse.
It does, yeah. You want something with like
You need,
fat
like,
in
milk
it
or something.
Yeah.
We'll get something after. All right, so just Jake, you
All right.
intro into it. Yeah.
Let's just do a cheers.
Cheers.
So ghost
Here we go.
pepper.
Let's go.
All right, ready? Tastes good.
Mhm.
It's very hot.
Yeah, it actually, the ghost pepper has a decent taste to it.
I think I got the
Oh, I gotta see.
real one. You guys got the fake one.
Hot.
You guys got a fake one. And I have the real one.
Dude, it's the same pepper.
I know, I'm just teasing.
Don't touch your eyes.
No, I just did. But I didn't. I went this way.
Hiccuping.
Yeah, I'm
Now
hiccuping.
I'm sweating. Oh man.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah, you look good.
I
now.
actually don't.
I eat a lot of spicy foods. That is really hot, but
My eyes are watering.
It goes away quick too from when I've eaten these before. So it's like a really hot for like a minute or two.
What are the hiccups, Doc?
It's just,
stop touching your eyes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I'm going to die.
You okay?
how are you doing with it?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
good.
no, I'm good. But my eyes are watering.
Oh, my God. No, it's very tasty, though. Like,
You want the
Yeah.
ones?
Yeah, it's
it is really good. It's just hot as fuck.
You ever
in my
make
mouth.
any like salsas or anything? Like,
from this.
yeah.
Not from this. From my. No, actually, I think I did. I did make
like
a.
habanero salsa.
My chilies. What I'll do normally is ferment them. So I put them in salt water. So I'll put them in salt water and get the natural lacto fermentation,
Yeah.
and then I make hot sauce with that. And I've done that with habaneros.
Okay.
Yeah,
I feel fine. Yeah.
me too.
I could feel it like definitely going down my throat, but I'm okay.
It is getting better.
I did.
Yeah, it's getting better, but it's in my throat.
I did cheat a little bit. I chewed it just a couple times and then swallowed it.
I did.
So I didn't let it sit around in my mouth.
That's what I did.
I wanted to feel the taste.
Yeah.
No, I just chewed it a couple times. And
Fine,
then swallowed
fine,
it.
Jake.
Finishing it. Are you?
No,
My hand's like numb.
I think the
All right.
candy's helping too.
Jake and I are going to do round 2.
Oh my God. Let's get tight reactions.
This one I'm really going to chew up.
I swallowed it already.
Jake's a phony. I'm joking.
I chewed it a couple of times and that's it. I'm fine now. It's when it comes out the other end.
Yeah.
It's gonna get to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it burns.
I'm gonna be running tomorrow and then be like.
No, it's really tasty. I feel better now. I feel more like.
I always get like a rush after I eat
Yeah.
really hot things like this. Yeah.
Feel good.
There's a at Senor Salsa. They have a habanero salsa in their salsa bar, and it's good. I mean, like when you eat it, makes your nose is like dripping, your eyes start watering. Yeah.
I feel like because like the chilies don't always come out the same spiciness. I
Yeah.
feel like I've grown spicier ghost peppers too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I don't. It's not. I definitely feel it, but it's tolerable.
Yeah. These chili peppers are gonna be good. I'm excited.
All right.
All right.
How you feeling?
I feel better now.
Yeah.
My right eyebrow is burning, but at
Can we
least
touch
it's
it?
my eyebrow, not my eye.
No,
But yeah, anything else, Jake, or do you want to just close it out?
we're good. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for having me.
We'll get you back on soon, hopefully.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
Sounds good.
She fine.